गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय मंश परिव्राजकाचार्य जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण श्री राधा कृष्ण को गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा वृंदावन धाम की जय नवदीप धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय द्वारका धाम की जय स्वामी भक्तवृंद की जय और ग्लोरी टू और ग्लोरी टू थैंक यू वेरी मच
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Gurudev, all glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, Prithu Prabhu, and all glories to the assembled Vaishnavi devotees.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay, let's get into it.
So, dear devotees, thank you all for being here. First of all, I have to render a very, very fruitful and sincere apologies to our revered speaker today, His Grace Prithu Prabhu, because it was originally scheduled for him to speak 2 hours ago. And I screwed up. It's my bad. I accept it, please. And Prabhuji had to forgo everything else he had to do today to still come to be with us today. So Prabhuji, we thank you so much. And again, our sincere apologies. So I believe this is your first time being here, Prabhuji.
Say that again?
I said, this is your first time on this platform.
I don't know. I think I did some Zooms in Africa, but I don't know which one.
Okay, you don't know which one. Okay. Well, this is a Hare Krishna Africa platform. And it is like devotees from different regions, devotees from Africa, some from US, some from South America, some from Europe sometimes, so some from India. So it's kind of global. And we are very happy to have your association today. What we usually do is the setting is just like a temple room setting of speaking Bhagavatam. And oftentimes, Srila Prabhupada does the Jai Radha Madhava chanting, and the speaker just goes ahead and then chant the slokas, and oftentimes the devotees do not chant because it creates distortion. But it's up to you, whichever way and whatever you want to take the class, we'll humbly follow your instructions and preference. So without further ado, I may put the verse on the screen and then you may start the class. And of course, my name is Sahadev Das, if you want to address me by name. Salika Prabhu, come again.
Where are you?
I am in the United States at the moment, but I'm originally from Africa, from Ghana specifically.
Ghana.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, is it the National Library you're in?
It's just a virtual. It's not a real library.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we begin?
Yes, so I'll put the verse on the screen and then we may begin.
Okay, I just realized I have to do one thing. I have to charge my iPad because I'm working with an iPad. One second.
Okay.
1 second. I have to just do this here.
So while Prabhuji is doing that, devotees, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to share a little bit about Prabhuji to you all. Of course, as you may already be aware, Prabhuji is direct Srila Prabhupada's disciple. In this particular lifetime, he was born in Germany, and he joined the movement in 1972. So, which is a little over 50 years, half a century. And Prabhuji has served in so many diverse ways and places in ISKCON. And actually, Prabhuji has headed a temple in South Africa before, I believe. And I think Ireland and so many other places. He is also an initiating guru in ISKCON. And at the moment, he is in charge. He is in charge of, well, it's just for people, for devotees to know. He is also serving a very important role in our hospice branch in Vrindavan, like when devotees are getting ready to leave the body. So Prabhuji is serving the movement in so many diverse ways. And it is a very great privilege and honor that Prabhuji can push lots of his daily chores and busy schedules to be with us today. So without further ado, I'll put the verse on the screen and Prabhuji, you may take it over. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for inviting me. Something you say is, and something are the past. We are living now in the year 2022, and things have changed a little bit. So I'm preaching, I'm traveling preaching. I was just in South Africa and Africa, namely in Kenya and Uganda for some time, 5 months actually. I preached in Africa, but normally I'm living in Vrindavan. And but in summer it is too hot. I travel outside, and in winter it's too cold. That's why I'm right now in where are we here? Huh?
Gujarat.
We are here in Gujarat right now. And Baroda. So in any case, I did have quite some association with Srila Prabhupada. I met him many times over the years and had some personal exchange with Prabhupada. And maybe I will talk about just one story in this regard, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please, it is.
Back in, what was it, 1974, we used to translate Bhagavad Gita from English into German. And so there was one verse which I was curious about from SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM in the Bhagavad Gita. And it says that one who chants the holy name of Krishna has taken bath in all the holy rivers of India. And he has taken a pilgrimage to all the holy places of India. And so I was curious about it. I thought naturally maybe in my last life I was in India, following the logic of that verse. And so I asked Prabhupada in Vrindavan on a morning walk, Prabhupada, based on that verse, is it true that in my last life I have been in an Indian body? And Prabhupada chuckled, so he smiled and laughed a little bit, very kindly. He said, maybe. He said, but most important is that I created you good fortune. And I thought about it, this is true, Prabhupada created our good fortune. But there's more to it, because you see, this verse is from SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, spoken 5,000 years ago. And so at that time, up to Lord Chaitanya, yes, one had to perform large amounts of tapasya to come to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The Hare Krishna mantra was a secret all these years. And so if somebody actually performs a lot of tapasya, such as going to the bathing in all the holy rivers of India and visiting all the holy places, then the super soul is sending such a person who will initiate him into the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. That was the system, and that's why this verse is accurate. But now we are in a complete different time, namely the time of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya is, so to say, a game changer. He changes the whole game. Before, yes, we had to perform all these tapasyas in our previous life, but in this life, Lord Chaitanya, as we all know, he broke open the stores of love of God. And that's what it means, that before, yes, it was all hidden away. Madhvacharya, I think, or Yamunacharya, one of our acharyas, he was given this Hare Krishna mantra as a secret mantra, and he went on the roof and declared it to everyone. And the Guru was very upset. He said, how can you do that? It's a secret mantra. He said, but everybody should hear it because everybody is being liberated. So we will see from that story that the Hare Krishna mantra was a great secret, but with Lord Chaitanya, it became public. He distributed the Hare Krishna mantra without any consideration, whether somebody was fit or unfit, whether somebody was pious, impious, everybody had the facility to hear the Hare Krishna mantra. So with Lord Chaitanya, even this verse in Bhagavatam becomes, how do you say, relativized. It doesn't really work like this anymore since Lord Chaitanya, because he changed the game. And Prabhupada, he is Lord Chaitanya's #1 missionary. You know, he is the one, the seva that was predicted, Pandu seva that was predicted by Lord Chandas Thakur in his writings, that one personality would come to spread this holy name all over the world. That's Prabhupada. He did that. And so since Prabhupada came, since beginning with Lord Chaitanya, then with Srila Prabhupada, the whole game is changing actually. And that may take a little while, because we cannot expect people from all kinds of backgrounds as we have. I mean, I don't want to inquire into your personal background, you know well. I know about my personal background very well. And so from our background here, we were not really appearing as pure devotees on this planet. We have done all kinds of things before we came to Krishna consciousness. But somehow or other, by the inconceivable mercy of Lord Nityananda, even Jaga and Madai were saved. And they were drunkards and women hunters and offenders, and they were horrible in their behavior, in their achar. And still, Lord Nityananda, he saved them. So we see that Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Nityananda especially, is especially merciful to everybody. And it is by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda especially, that we are saved in this age. Which brings up an important point, because you see, you go to every temple I've known. Take, for example, Vrindavan. I don't know if you have been in Vrindavan, but there are, on one side, there Gornitai, in the middle is Krishna Balaram, and then there is Radha Krishna, Radhesham, on the right side. So the fact is that if you go into a temple or function when the curtain is open, large amount of people gather in front of Radhesham. Fewer people, some few people gather in front of Gornitai, or excuse me, on Krishna Balaram, and very few people gather actually in front of Gauranga. And this is actually totally wrong, because the mercy that we need to come to a taste of chanting Hare Krishna, that we get only from Sri Chaitanya. Namo Maharanyaya Krishna Prem Padaya Krishna Krishna Chaitanya. He is Radharani himself. Radharani is more merciful than Krishna, we all know this. And even more merciful than Radharani is Lord Chaitanya. And the most merciful of us is Lord Nityananda. And that's why, personally, I have this nice, the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, that I carry everywhere I go. You see this here? Can you see that?
Yes, very clear, yes.
If you like, you can touch your head to the screen for a moment, and in this way, accept the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. It says here that Lord Nityananda, Nita Parapala Kamala, the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, Koti Chandra, Susitara, are more merciful than millions of moons. So the thing is, if you want to be saved, that's it. That's what we have to keep in mind. Is the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are the most precious things of all. He's actually more merciful even than Lord Chaitanya. That's why we have to keep these lotus feet on our head like that. That's my practice. We have to keep the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda on our head and pray to Lord Nityananda because he's actually saving us. So we should understand that Radha and Krishna, they are involved in their own lila and in their rasa bhav. And the rasa bhav is not a situation where you want to ask requests like save me, but dear Lord. He's in rasa bhav, he's enjoying his pastimes with the gopis. And we shouldn't disturb that that bhava. We should rather go, he said, I have come particularly, leave me alone. Of course, he doesn't say that like that. Leave me alone. I'm busy here in my particular relationship with certain very intimate devotees. Please go to Lord Chaitanya. I've come as Lord Chaitanya, particularly to you in this age of Kali. And Lord Chaitanya is my dear Radharani. He is, Radharani appeared in the form of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya, then again, there's Nityananda. So we should understand that our priority for salvation, our focus, should be on Lord Nityananda. And when Prabhupada installed the deities in Vrindavan in 1976, it was, yes. In 76, he told the devotees, now your problems are solved. He said, all you have to do, you go to Lord Nityananda, to Gonitai. You go to Lord Nityananda especially, and pray to Lord Chaitanya, my dear Lord, I'm very fallen, please save me. Get me out of here, out of the material world. And Prabhupada, he will hear you. Because Lord Nityananda is also in our heart, a super soul. And Lord Nityananda, not only that, he manifests himself as a Sadguru, as a Cheta Guru. Was this the other way around? You know, he manifests himself in the personification, in the personality of the spiritual master. So we have to see, and our prayers are that Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, Yasya Prasada Topi. And without the mercy of the spiritual master, nobody can make any advancement. And so the focus is on the spiritual master. The focus must be in our spiritual life on Lord Chaitanya. And so Bhakti Siddhanta particularly told us that we should chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayadvaita Gadadhara Srivasa Go Bhaktivinoda as much as possible, because when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we will commit offenses, unavoidable in the beginning. But if you chant Sisiko Nitai or Nitya Gauranga or Sri Krishna Chaitanya, we cannot commit any offenses. We cannot commit any offenses, and this will become purified very rapidly to be able to be qualified to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And so I'm not making it up. This is not my idea. I will read to you. Let me just find it 1 second. Where do we have this in prayers? Let me just go into my computer here for a moment. There must be here. Must be here somewhere. Let me find this. Where is this? Where did I have this screen? I should have pulled this out before. Now, there's a text in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Adi Lila, 8:29 to 30. And says, if one chants the exalted holy name of the Lord again and again, and yet his love for the Supreme Lord does not develop, and tears do not appear in his eyes, it is obvious that because of his offenses in the chanting, the seed of the holy name has not sprouted. And then the next verse in Adi Lila, you should make a note of this. Adi Lila, Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Adi Lila 8:31, it says, next one, but if one chants with some slight face the holy names of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, very quickly he is cleansed of all offenses. So as soon as he chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he feels the ecstasy of love of God. And then purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati remarks in this connection, if one takes shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, follows their instructions to become more tolerant than a tree and humbler than grass. In this way, chants the holy name of the Lord. Very soon, he will achieve the platform of transcendental loving service of the Lord, and tears will appear in his eyes. There are offenses to be considered in chanting Hare Krishna mantra, but there are no such consideration in chanting the names of Nitai. Therefore, one chants Hare Krishna mantra, but in his life is still full of sinful activities, it will be very difficult for him to achieve the platform of loving service to the Lord. But if in spite of being an offender, one chants the names of Nitai, he's very quickly freed from the reactions to his offenses. Therefore, one should actually approach Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda or worship Gauranga and then come to the stage of worshiping Radha Krishna. In our movement, our students are first advised to worship Nitai, and then when they're somewhat advanced, Radha Krishna is installed and they engage in the service of the Lord. One should take first shelter in Nityananda in order to reach ultimately Radha Krishna. And it goes on and on and on and on. This is a very important purpose. You should read this in Adi Lila 8, chapter, verse number 31. And so it points toward what Prabhupada told us many times, that we should approach Lord Nityananda, in particular Lord Chaitanya, Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Padayati, Krishna Krishna Chaitanya, Namni Gura Trishnama, is most merciful, and particularly Lord Nityananda, to help us to be able to chant Hare Krishna mantra. Very important, you know. And I find even if you chant, when you get up, Nita Gauranga, it's very easy to chant. Then we become purified and qualified to actually chant the Hare Krishna mantra without offenses. That's a little point I wanted to make that may be new to you, was also new to me. And let's refocus our attention to particularly Lord Nityananda and beg for his particular mercy to be able to chant Hare Krishna mantra properly. And so then the next step, one lady, she is a jazz musician, Alice Coltrane, and she approached Prabhupada in Vrindavan one time. And she said to Srila Prabhupada, I have so many problems. I have this problem, that problem, that problem, that problem, this problem, that problem, that problem. And Prabhupada said, that's all right. He said, just chant more. If you chant more, then everything will be revealed to you. Very important point. You see, our tradition to receive knowledge is not by investigation. Like if you see Christian religion, Muslim religion, it's based, everybody has his own opinion how to go back to God, basically speaking. That's why there are so many different churches and so many different congregations. And the Catholics don't agree with the Protestants. The Protestants don't agree with the Methodists. Methodists don't agree with the Baptists. Baptists don't agree with it. It goes on and on and on. There are thousands of different congregations, and one pastor doesn't agree with another one. Because basically speaking, the problem is, if it is not based on revelation, your knowledge, then it is based on speculation, on mental speculation. And so in the morning I gave this class, Jiva Goswami says there are 3 ways to come to appreciate knowledge. The first one is by sensory experience, through the senses and through the mind. And that's imperfect. And there's another one by intellectual investigation, this theory, that theory about God. And even that doesn't cut the mustard, as you say in English. What does cut the mustard is, Krishna says, you go to the spiritual master, render service to him, the self-realized soul can give you knowledge. It is revelation. He can give you knowledge because he has seen the truth. And when you have thus seen the truth, you know that all living beings are my part and parcel. So our whole tradition is based on revelation. It is revealed. Like Krishna says, those who worship me in love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So that it is descending path. If we try by our own capacity to understand God, it's an ascending path. And that leads only to so much understanding. The only idea to come to knowledge is to hear from Krishna. He knows best. And from Srila Prabhupada, he knows best to hear, to put oneself into this submissive attitude to hear from Krishna. Through Guru Parampara, number 1, Guru Parampara. B, through Shastra, like this verse says, Shastra Vidimutija, Bhatati Kama Karata, does not live in Shastra, Bhatati Kama Karata, but acts out of mental speculation. Nasasidim, we cannot achieve perfection, Siddha. Nasukam, no happiness, na paramgatim, nor can he achieve the supreme destination. So the whole thing, our line is revelation, that it will be given to us in due course of time. According he surrenders unto me, Krishna says, Yeyatamam prapadyate, tam sata vajramyami. According he surrenders unto me, I reward him. So the knowledge is descending to us if we qualify ourselves by our endeavor and by Krishna's mercy to continue. So we need Krishna's mercy, and for that we have to qualify ourselves by making an endeavor to serve Krishna, to hear about Krishna, etc., preach Krishna consciousness. So this is a point that I wanted to bring into your knowledge, into your understanding, how much we are depending on a process which in the ultimate issue is based on revelation. That Krishna reveals himself to the devotee. So in the beginning there's sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti brings up to the point, Adho Shraddha, in the beginning there's faith, Tatu Sadhu Sangha, we associate with devotees. Then bhajana kriya, we perform bhajan and kriya, spiritual activity. Then anata nivritti syat, all the impurities disappear, and then we come to ruchi, we come to taste. And that is actually the point here, that like we have this verse today, that generally transcendentalists, even though engaged by others in dualities of material, are not distressed, nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendentally engaged. They have achieved a higher taste. Vishaya vinivatati niradasyadina, rasu vajamra supyasya, paramdrishva nivatati. One may refrain from sense gratification, but the taste remains. That's the point. Giving up such taste by experiencing a higher taste. So by experiencing a higher taste, one is situated in God consciousness and is transcendent his spiritual soul. He's completely absorbed in Krishna, and therefore material sense gratification doesn't bother him anymore. There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita also, the same. He says, keep all sinful activity away from you by the power of devotional service. There you have that same principle, Then Krishna reveals himself to the devotee. And so unless there's revelation, people really don't know what they're talking about. And this is available by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And Krishna reveals himself to sincere soul in due course of time. So that's if you read this whole purport of this verse, it tells there's happiness and distress and so many things, but the transcendentalists, the king and the mystic, have nothing to do with it because they're unattached to the material sphere due to being absorbed in Krishna. So that's the thing, how do we become absorbed in Krishna? We become absorbed in Krishna by Krishna's mercy. By Krishna's mercy. It's all based on the mercy of God. We have to do our best, and then Krishna will do the rest. That's what it is. You see, it's not that we can do the rest. We can only do our best. We can make an endeavor with enthusiasm. And sometimes it's difficult. We all have gone through so many ups and downs, including what to speak of myself. So many ups and downs in our life, but we have to continue under all circumstances, even if it is difficult at times. We should always continue on this path. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, even if somebody commits the most abominable sin, still is considered to be saintly if he's rightly situated, if he's on this path of endeavoring. There's another verse in this collection, Akama Sava Kamuva Moksha Kami Davadi Tivrena Bhakti Yogina Yajita Purusham. Somebody may be akama, free from desire. Savakama, somebody may have all the desires in the world. Or somebody may want to become one with God, moksha kama, udavadi, tivrena bhakti yogina, but by practicing devotional service, gradually he becomes free from all these things. That's the beauty of devotional service. So that's our path. And it is very essential that we find, that we read this purport that I gave you and try to understand that we have to cry for Lord Nityananda's mercy. There's no use to cry to Krishna or to cry to Srimati Radharani. They're on the highest level of ecstasy. Why do people want to go to Radha Krishna first? Because the nature to step over somebody else is a human nature. We don't want to go to the spiritual master. Is there anybody higher? But it is better to be Muhammad than a blade of grass and take whatever Krishna gives us. And we pray, therefore, that without the mercy of the spiritual master, we cannot make any progress. I mean, the Christians will tell us, you preach in Africa, and in Africa, there are millions of Christians. And many of them will tell us, nobody comes to the Father but through me. Isn't it? Is that true? Question, is that true?
Yes, but not as much. It's not so easy, but book distribution is also pretty going on well especially in West Africa, where I'm from.
Yeah, but you see, if you think about it, nobody comes to the Father but through me. There's truth in it, because you need to have a spiritual master, the representative of God, to come to God. There's nothing wrong with that people say, nobody comes to the Father through me. What is wrong is that they have a sectarian interpretation of a universal principle. It's universally true. Everywhere in the universe, at all times, in every universe, in all material creation, you have to go to the spiritual master. That's a universal principle. And nobody comes to the Father but through me. But they have, the interpretation is that this is a Christian prerogative. And therefore, unless you go to Jesus, that's a sectarian interpretation of a universally true spiritual principle, to accept a spiritual master. Yes, prasada bhagavad prasada, So this is what we have to understand. What they say is not completely wrong, but it's not completely right. It is good, but not very good.
Yes, we as ISKCON devotees, we also say the same thing every morning. We also say the lotus feet of the spiritual master is the only way by which we can attend pure devotional service, which is not different from what the Christians are saying.
It's exactly
but like you said, we have a better understanding.
Yeah. We understand that this is a universal truth. It's not a Christian truth. It's a universal truth. You know, they've hijacked this prerogative and turned it into a Christian, how do you say, jumping board to eternity, but it is not. It is true for everybody. You need a spiritual master. You cannot go by your own efforts to go back home, back to God. You need a spiritual master. If you follow Jesus, well, Jesus is for you, that person. And if you follow Prabhupada, Prabhupada is for you, that person. You need a spiritual master, you know. So that's basically speaking what I wanted to tell you about, you know, that very important is to come to the higher taste. And that higher taste is given by Krishna himself. Like there is one verse by Haridas Thakur. He said, no one in this world is able to chant Hare Krishna mantra without distraction. He said that. You can read it in Harinam Chintamani, that no one in this world is able to chant Hare Krishna mantra without distraction. He said such ability is only due to Krishna's mercy. And therefore we have to pray for that grace. You see, we have to pray, my dear Lord Nityananda, please allow me to chant Hare Krishna mantra perfectly. Give me that mercy that I can chant Hare Krishna. If I can chant Hare Krishna perfectly, my life is solved. My problem is solved. Then I will rise over all difficulties of material life because we are in Krishna consciousness. So we need to pray for that mercy. You know, we need to approach Prabhupada, Lord Nityananda. I met the other day, and I was still in Vrindavan. There was one devotee, Indian man, very nice man. And he told me that I've encountered so many problems in ISKCON, you know, in my life. And he said, but whenever there's a problem, I just go to Lord Nityananda or I go to Srila Prabhupada and I pray, please help me solve this problem. He said, every single time, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Srila Prabhupada, help me to solve this problem. He said, that's a fact, every single time. I ask for help. I get that help. You see? Hare Krishna. Now, our time is almost up. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, dear devotees, if anyone has a question, please you may indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and then you'll be asked to unmute to speak. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Govinda, you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna, go ahead.
First of all, I would like to offer my obeisances to the devotees on the platform. And I don't know how to address our wonderful speaker. So how do I address him? I said, Maharaj, Prabhu, how do I address him, sir?
You address him as Prabhuji.
Okay.
So,
Prabhuji, please kindly accept.
Sorry, he was asking what is the appropriate way of addressing you. And I said he could address, yes, you.
I'm PRITHU, Prabhu, very simple.
Yes, okay. Well, I said Prabhuji.
Like your name is Quadvo.
Yeah,
so I should address you as Quadvo,
yes,
Prabhu.
my name is Prabhu.
Quadvo, Prabhu. Driving a car.
Thank you. And spiritual name is Govindas. I'm a disciple of Srila Bhakti-Tirtha Swami Maharaj.
Huh?
Hare Krishna. Okay.
The name
yep.
you see here is his legal name, but his initiation name is Govinda Das. That's what he was saying.
So
A disciple of His Holiness Bhakti-Tirtha Maharaj.
Bhakti-Tirtha Maharaj. So his name is Govinda Prabhu. And my
Yes.
name is Prabhu. My name is PRITHU Prabhu.
Yes.
Very
PRITHU
simple.
Prabhu.
You know,
Hare
so
Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
PRITHU Prabhu,
Nice to meet you.
please accept my thank you. Nice to meet you. Please accept my respectful obeisances. And wonderful presentation of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM this morning, and it has given me a lot of strength to carry on my pursuit. The devotees on the platform will agree this is a pure nectar, and it's very, very, very encouraging. Prabhuji, you showed us the lotus feet of Lord Alexander. You know, in astrology or physiology, I can read the face of somebody and tell exactly what is happening in that person's life. In palmistry, a good palmist can read the signs in a person's palm and be able to tell that person exactly what is happening in his life, and to the point of even telling him when he will die. I remember in Prabhupada Lila, one of his disciples gave the information of Srila Prabhupada to one astrologer, and he was able to tell him that Srila Prabhupada will build a house in which the whole world can live. So when he went to Prabhupada back and told him what the astrologer said, Prabhupada said, yes, that is true. So the good astrologer can read one's information about his birth, the date of his birth and the time and everything, and tell him exactly about the person's life. When we look at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, there are various symbols, and each and every symbol in the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna has a specific meaning. And if the meaning is explained, it's so encouraging, and I don't know the word to use, but it's so amazing, and it's very fulfilling to an aspiring devotee. He has a signs like fish, like moon, like swastika, like lotus flower, maize, conch shell, and he has about 16 different items, and each and every item has a meaning, and it's so wonderful to hear about the meaning of all these signs. Could you kindly tell us what are the signs in the lotus feet of our Lord Nityananda and the meaning of those signs, please?
Yeah, of course I can. I just have to, I don't have it in my head, but I have it in my computer. Lotus feet. Lotus feet. Lotus feet. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Let me see. Lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. You know, I can tell you right away from my own things that are here, you know. So there's a lotus flower there, there's a concha there, there's a dish there, there's a flag there, there's a plow there, there are arrows there, there are all in the left foot bow there, there's a moon there, on the right foot there's a lotus flower, there's an elephant rod, and there's a club there, there's an umbrella there, there are arrows there, there's a flower there, there are auspicious water pots there, and there's a fish. And there's a beautiful, on the internet, and somehow I can't pull down. Let me see if I can do it for you. I will send you then the link. Lotus feet. Lotus feet. Nid. Ya. Nan. Da. Ah. Yeah. Another way, yeah, something is happening. And how come it isn't note? What is the problem, Ananda? It doesn't note. It's loading slow.
Prabhuji, I can put information on the screen and then you can go over to explain.
I will send you a perfect file on the website. It's called Desire Tree that has an elaborate explanation of every single symbol on the lotus seed of Lord. I can't put it down right now because I'm not prepared, but I will send you. And every single symbol is explained in details on that. There you have it, something like that, you see.
Yeah.
So it's on the internet. You have to just Google it. Google knows everything. It's a fact. I mean, I tell you frankly, I tried to find out what Sri Prabhupada's relationship was with Krishna. And ultimately, Google knows it. I Googled it and I found the perfect explanation in a very systematic way. So Google is very useful, you know, even in spiritual matters, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, the information is available online.
All right. So,
well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anyone else with any question or comment, please? Well, Prabhuji, you were saying in your presentation that one cannot just study scriptures, read scriptures, and attain Krishna. It has to be given. And the spiritual master is the person who does that. The spiritual master gives. Because the spiritual master, I mean, Krishna himself says in the Gita, approach such a person because he's seen the truth and he can give it to you. Now, is it possible that a person may be wise or intelligent enough to approach such a person who has Krishna, and the person who has Krishna and can give Krishna to a particular individual or any individual he so chooses, can hold Krishna back from that devotee from not getting Krishna?
Yes, it's a little difficult for me to understand. The point is, if somebody
Okay, what I'm trying to say is, Mr. A knows Krishna, and he has Krishna in his pocket. And therefore, if Mr. B wants to know Krishna, it is wise for Mr. B to approach Mr. A, who has Krishna, for Mr. A to also give him Krishna. Now, my question is it possible, or could it be possible that Mr. A, who has Krishna, can refuse Mr. B the opportunity of having Krishna or having access to Krishna?
Yes, I mean, the thing is, you see, a spiritual master will give knowledge to somebody who's qualified, you know. He will not tell anybody who is not qualified his spiritual realizations. I mean, I personally asked Prabhupada one time on a morning walk. I said, Srila Prabhupada, can I know about your inner spiritual life? And Prabhupada kept walking. He didn't answer the question. Then I asked him again. Then Prabhupada said, that you do not require. He said, chant Hare Krishna. He said, first deserve and then desire. So one has to be also qualified. The spiritual master, it must be qualified. The disciple has to be qualified, you know. It's not said, even Jesus said, you know, don't throw pearls before swine in the Bible, because they will trample it and destroy it. So a person who's wise, he will not impart knowledge to somebody who's not qualified, because he's a fool. Just like, I mean, you won't impart knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to a horse. I mean, you can preach to a horse for the rest of your life, all the way to the end of Kali Yuga. A horse will not understand it, because he's a horse. So in the same way, you can preach to follow who are qualified for the rest of your life. Even my own family members, I cannot explain Krishna consciousness because they can't understand it. You know, some look at the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, and most people can't understand it at all. So what can you do for them? You give them some prasadam, right? Gives them some prasadam, you know, gives them some Gandhari's water on the head. He lets them hear some kirtan. Ask them for donations, sell them a book. These things are practical, you know, we have to do something practical, you know. In Gita, Krishna says, let not the wise disrupt the mind of the ignorant. You know, if people are ignorant, how can you give them knowledge? You give knowledge to somebody who asks sincerely, I want to know, how can I advance in spiritual life? We can help him. But if somebody knows already everything, why should I even talk to them? I mean, how can you talk? How can you convince a born-again Christian, for example? He's so set into his own Christianity, you can't change it. You can change. You have to approach Christians who are open-minded.
Yeah.
You know, there are in every religion, there are many people at the borderline. The hardcore people you cannot change. You can preach up to the end of the universe. But people who are open-minded, who want to know, within Christianity, there are a lot of people who are open-minded, who want to hear. Because those people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went one time, I drove a train in Ireland. And I was sitting alone in the compartment and an old man came in. And I was chanting. He said, what are you doing there? He said, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. He said, son, this will not save you. Jesus died for your sins. Unless you turn to Jesus, you're lost. You know, give up all this. And so I knew that, is anybody listening there? Are you still with me? Hare Krishna.
Yes, we are all listening. Yes, Prabhuji.
So I said to him that I don't follow Jesus. And he said, how is that? I said, well, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. Is that true? He said, yes. Do you believe that? He said, yes. He said, are you practicing this? He said, yes, all the time. He said, yes. I said, hey, let me ask you a question. How much money have you in your pocket? He said, what does it have to do with our talk? He said, well, how much money have you in your pocket? How much? Come on, answer my question. He looked into his pocket and said, $100. And I said to him, love your neighbor as yourself means 50-50. Give me $50. Otherwise, your faith in Jesus is fake. You don't practice what you preach. And so he was shocked. He said, well, hold on a minute. I said, love your neighbor as yourself. Practice what you preach. Come on. And so he gave me $50. And I embraced it. I said to him, you're really a good Christian. You see, I did exactly that. I didn't argue with him. I just engaged him in Krishna's service.
Yeah.
So we have to understand who we are having in front of us, before we preach.
Okay.
Prabhupada always asks this question, what is your philosophy?
Yeah.
And if, like we have seen in Ireland, so where was that? In Germany. No, in Amsterdam, Prabhupada gave a lecture. And hardly anybody was there. And so I went on the square. There was around about hundreds and thousands of hippies were sitting there and all drinking and smoking. And, so I said, a Swami has come from India, please come. Free food, free feasting, dancing, singing. So the whole hall filled up within minutes. And so then Prabhupada, he started singing Jaya Radharani, and he looked at somebody had a snake around his neck, and somebody had no clothes on, and somebody was completely naked, and somebody was painted all over, somebody had horns. And so Prabhupada laughed. When he saw that, he stopped the kirtan and he said, look, he said, these people are useless. Just chant Hare Krishna and give them prasadam. And I said, I'm leaving. So Prabhupada left. He saw no point in explaining the philosophy because he saw the people were drugged. They were not responsive. They were just, real, bottom line hippies. They were not intellectual hippies. They were, incapable to understand Krishna consciousness. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, just the example you gave, that Prabhupada, he opened his eyes, he saw all these nude people, he left. But there is also a Leela of a similar situation where Prabhupada did not leave. I mean, they were almost naked, but he gave lectures. So I guess it's also due to time, place, and circumstance. And you were talking about deserve, and then desire.
Yeah.
Right?
See, but he knew that in the audience of crazy people, there's one person that he spotted.
Yeah.
He preached to that person.
Yeah.
As one devotee is a famous devotee in our movement, that he realized that Prabhupada was a huge bundle, and Prabhupada was looking at him. He was standing in the back and preached to him very clearly. And he was talking to him. And so then after that, he went to Prabhupada and submitted himself to Prabhupada, and he understood that Prabhupada actually was preaching to him out of thousands of people, because he could see there's this one person who was open-minded, But at the same time, it was an ocean of fools. Prabhupada wouldn't waste his time, He wanted us to preach to particular college boys, because college boys, it's easier for them to preach Krishna consciousness to college boys, If you don't preach in the colleges, our movement cannot really, flourish.
See, Prabhu, from the, I think the beginning part of the speaking of Bhagavatam and Prabhupada pastimes and everything together, you were saying that you had read that for someone to become a devotee, he must have done this, that. So you asked your Prabhupada, and your Prabhupada said, you have nothing or something like that. I made you. So how do we relate that? How do we relate that to deserve before you desire? Because there may be lots of devotees who became devotees who did not have any prior qualification. It was just the mercy. It was just like you were talking about the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Sometimes somebody may not have anything to be promoted to the highest form of service, which is devotional service. So now the question is, how does that mercy come?
Don't worry, just preach, and those who can receive it, they will take it. You know, like when you say, samsara Ganaganatvam. Ganaganatvam is a cloud. The cloud takes the mercy from the ocean of mercy and pours it on the sea. There's no response. Then it pours it on cloudy, on rocky land. There's no response. But then the same cloud spreads its rain on the fertile land, and there will be abundant result. You know, so Lord Chaitanya would distribute the mercy undiscriminately to everybody, but most of people don't take it. That's a fact. You know, they may maybe in their next life, maybe in their future life sometimes, but out of thousands of people, Krishna says, Sahasra Samanusyashu, out of 1,000 people, one person, he can actually take it serious. And of thousands of persons of that sort, of that ilk, one knows me in truth, you know. So yes, we should preach to everybody, but we should particularly then be aware that this person here is receptive.
Yeah.
And for that person, we give special attention. And other people who are less attentive or able to understand or to hear, gives them prasadam. You know, gives them, for God's sake, gives them prasadam of kirtan. You know? But don't go into big philosophy. That's only possible for people who have a brain for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anyone else with any question, comment? It's a little late, Prabhu's time in India.
I need to go to bed. It's 9:30. I go to bed normally at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
After a lecture like this, I have to wind down.
Yeah. Well, Prabhuji, we thank you so much for the amount of patience you've had for us and being here, even though it was agreed upon to be here 2 hours earlier. And we were going back. And so thank you so much. And we hope next time we can have a better arrangement so that we don't mess up.
I wish you all the best in your spiritual life. Anybody who takes to Krishna consciousness, he's special. He's a fortunate soul. So devotees are fortunate people, no doubt about it. And let's go on together on this path, serving Srila Prabhupada, preaching Krishna consciousness wherever we go. And in this way we have a life. It may be difficult sometimes, but preach, preach, preach. You know, Prabhupada told us this. He asked me this question personally, what is the most important verse? In 1973. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, Yade Dekata Krishna Upadesh, wherever you go, you preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada, that is correct. That is the right verse. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yay. Yay. So, dear devotees, please, you may kindly unmute, and then we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker today, His Grace, Prithu Prabhu. Jai. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakapatarushcha, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
All glories to His grace. Prithu Prabhu ki.
Jai.
All
Hari
glories to
Hari